Hello everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we're coming to you with your Cannes Film Festival Fashion Roast and Review Part 1, because there's a lot to discuss. So we're going to be looking at a lot of the earlier looks from the Cannes Film Festival, whether it was Anya Taylor-Joy, Hunter Schafer, Lily Gladstone, Greta Gerwig, Baloji. So without further ado, and obviously there will be a part 2 where we look at some of the later outfits during the film festival, so, you know, buckle in, it's going to be a ride. Now the first images that we really saw of Cannes were Anya Taylor-Joy arriving, and she's wearing this Atelin dress. Now if you don't know Atelin, it's a brand based in Paris, and they do a lot of these really clingy, body-conscious dresses. They're really easy, they're really understandable, they're really nice. And here Anya is wearing this one-shoulder pleated style that's draped. It's meant to have a lot of the draping and a lot of these folds, although I will say, don't really love the ones that sit around the waist. I do like the color on her. I do really like the one shoulder element. I don't mind the draping aspect too, and the pleats I think give a really nice texture. And she's wearing this big Jacquemus hat, which very south of France, I would say. If any brand is very south of France, it's Jacquemus and Chanel. Like, those are the two south of France brands, always. I think it works. I think it's nice. I think it's easy. It's casual, yet still feels a little bit dressed up. We then saw Anya wear this Jill Sander look. Now this is for one of the photo calls for the Cannes Film Festival. The photo call is different than like the red carpet. The photo call is a little bit more casual. It's more like daytime than like full evening gown, ball gown, red carpet. I think this little tweed moment by Jill Sander kind of works. I like the fraying at the bottom of both the crop jacket and the skirt, as well as at the sleeves and the cuff. She's really going for a lot of headpieces lately, and I'm kind of into it. I think it's different for her, but I think it works, and I feel like it's very enjoyable to see a headpiece every once in a while. And I feel like Cannes is also a place for a headpiece. Like the French, they like a little drama, they like a little bit of fashion. I think it works. I think it's casual enough. I think it's easy. It's still dressed up. It still feels young. She might be sweating just a little bit, un peu, as the French would say, but like, I think it's doable. And the last Anya look that we'll talk about is this Christian Dior moment, this haute couture gown. It's strapless. It's in like a light beige. It's fully crystallized. It's just that classic Dior sort of shape of ball gown, big bell skirt, fitted tiny waist. And I do love the Tiffany & Co necklace that she's wearing. I think it's rather beautiful. I think it's rather charming. I think it's really rather sort of easy, curved, lovely. I would say that I think it's pretty plain in terms of red carpet at Cannes, and I just think it's the color and the silhouette is just normal. But at the same time, I think it matches up a lot with Maria Grazia Chiuri's Dior, so like I'm not super duper mad at it because I know the context of it. Sometimes I'm mad at the context, but it's a different video. I think she looks lovely, and I like the necklace, so like we'll take it. Next up we have Aubrey Plaza. Now she is wearing Loewe. Now we know that it's supposed to look like that. It's very Loewe. It's this silky, fitted, I think a little bit of a built-in shoulder moment, and then it has this rolled skirt that then turns into a gathered skirt. I don't like it. Like, I like Loewe. I think that it's fun and it's artistic and all that, and that's great. I don't like this dress. I think that the rolled skirt panel thing is very strange, and I don't really know if it does what we want it to do. I think also just the top, it's just a rough fabric, just because as soon as you move in it, it's going to show where the fabric is just going to 100% shift, and I don't think it looks great. So yeah, there's a lot wrong here. A lot going on. A lot of it is not good. Sad. Next up we have Baloji, and he is wearing Louis Vuitton. Honestly, I wouldn't really ever like talk about this because it's not a super radical look whatsoever, but I do think that it's just very interesting to see the Pharrell Louis Vuitton vision come out. I think this is very Pharrell-esque. The jacket, the color, the hat, the black pants, it all just kind of fits in with the Pharrell vibe of what that LV menswear is turning into, as opposed to like what the Virgil aesthetic was. Just something to know. Next up we saw Barry Keoghan, and he's wearing Burberry here. Now this is a short set, and it's like a cardigan jacket thing, but it has like epaulettes on the top, and it has either like cherries or grapes all over it. I don't love it. I think that at the shoulder area, it's really, really clunky and dumpy. I don't like it. I also think that it's weird that it's like shorts with like a jacket, and the shorts look like athletic shorts, and also the fact that he paired like a Nike Air Force One with it also makes it kind of like weird, and I don't get it. and I just think it's like a strange, so yeah, I don't like it at all. He did change though and still wore Burberry, but I like this a lot more. I like this jacket in gray or like a light, maybe light blue. I love the tuxedo ruffle down the placket of the shirt. It's beautiful. The black pants, it works. It ties in with what's going on around the collar of the blazer. I think this is better, a little bit more fun and funky and festive, yet still like dressed up, more appropriate in my opinion. Next up we have Bella Hadid, who's wearing Saint Laurent. It's a rather interesting dress, not because I like it, but it's just intriguing. Here's the thing, it's from the fall 2024 collection, which is the most recent one, which is actually quite, frankly, highly controversial because what the Saint Laurent team and Anthony Vaccarello, the creative director, did is they made all of the dresses, or at least almost all of the sheer styles, out of stockings. So like they did all the prototypes in stockings, so like they bought stockings and then they draped them and reconstructed them and all that, and then they must have obviously produced them not using stockings, but by using other fabric. It's probably the same as stockings, but like not from actual stockings. That's the whole point of that collection. The thing with this Bella dress is I just kind of don't love it. A lot of the collection also had coats not attached, but the models were holding them. Sometimes they were wearing them. And I think that added a little bit to the fact that like these beige-ish, brownish sheers were kind of blah. There were red versions and green versions that I thought were a little bit more exciting. And I kind of wish that Bella had gone in that route rather than just like this light brown version. Also the ruching up the front. I know it's very 80s, very, you know, decade-esque, but I also don't think it looks great. I'm not obsessed with the shoe either, the little peep toe. I don't really think it adds too much. I don't think it was a great dress moment. There will be more Bella looks to talk about in the second video, but this starting off point I thought kind of fell flat. It wasn't really great, wasn't really dazzling, wasn't really memorable, except for the fact that I wanted to erase it from my memory. Next up we have Chris Hemsworth. He's wearing Tom Ford here, I believe. I want to say, wow, so much more better than the Met Gala, but that would be a lie. He's wearing a pink jacket, pink waistcoat, white button-down shirt, a pair of like lighter pink pants, I believe, and a brown boot. I don't know. It's just okay. And again, after the Met, it's like I don't really have any leeway, you know what I mean? I could be like, oh, at the Met he really went crazy, it's so cool, alright, chill. I understand. I don't understand because this is all he wears, is blah, uninteresting. I do think for like Cannes it makes sense and like it looks fine. I don't really understand the pants being lighter. I wish that the shirt maybe matched the color of the pant a little bit. Just not dazzled by him. Next up we have Cindy Bruna, who's wearing Gucci and Chopard. Listen, I think the Chopard looks really nice. As for like this striped shirt, trench coat, jacket, skirt, pant thing, whatever's going on, I like the motif. I think that the stripes are rather interesting. All the different variations of black and white create an interesting gray color scheme. But do I think it's like really chic? No, not really. Do I think it's super wow? No, not really. But again, love a big Chopard earring. That's dazzling, most definitely. Next up we have Demi Moore wearing Armani Prive. This is kind of your classic Armani Prive in the sense that it's heavily embellished. The red stripes actually are all sequins, and whatever the fabric that they are sewed onto is that sort of light, I want to say light pink, not really cream. And then there are also these circular little areas that are sort of outlined and then have different crystals and embellishments. I do think that it fits really, really well. Like I like the fact that even though it's sequined like that, it really does nip in at the waist. I think that the neckline is rather intriguing. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, to be completely honest, but I think the thing that I always find about Armani Prive is it usually is always very impeccably fitted. It always looks really, really well constructed. And while it might not always be to everybody's taste, I find that Armani Prive is able to mix this idea of sort of old school glamour in terms of silhouette, construction, craftsmanship, yet it also usually has like a futuristic feeling to it. It feels almost like the Armani customer is Judy Jetson, not Hooker, just Judy Jetson. I kind of like it. I think that Demi Moore looks good here, even though the color of the dress really does match the carpet, and that can be very distracting. I think the fact that you have those sort of stripes going on do help a little bit, and the embellishments as well. I think she looks nice. Next up we have Elin Hall. I don't love this Chanel look. It's a Chanel style that I first thought had perfume bottles on it, and I was like, wow, we are obsessed with ourselves. Evidently, we love selling perfume, which to each. I did realize though that I guess it's actually stamps, luggage tags or something, or tickets. I don't know. It looks like stamps to me. I still think it's ugly. Chanel motifs, at least now, aren't really great. I don't know if they've ever really been so amazing. And I do think the cape ruffles are like fine-esque. Chanel doesn't really ever do it for me. Next up we have Emma Stone. She's wearing Louis Vuitton. I think it's okay. Like, I'll be completely honest. It really works well on her. I think that the neckline works. I like the plunge. I like the subtle layering of the ruffle at the bottom of the dress. I like the metallic feeling, and that's because it's fully sequined, which also, it's a lot of sequins. They're well done. She looks good. From what I heard, the movie that she's promoting is like some sort of 70s boho-esque movie, and so this might have something to do with that. I like it. I think it's fine. I think it makes sense. I think it looks well crafted. Still has that metallic futuristic-y thing that Nicolas Ghesquière also likes to do, but still referencing past decades, which is also something he likes to do, so I'll take it. I'll accept this one. Next up we have Eva Green, and she's really trying, and I want to say thank you to Eva Green, because you're working hard, and I appreciate you, and I see you. I hate this. This Balmain dress, I just think the fishnet and like the cracked tile mirror pieces and then the metallic crystal is a lot. It's like too much. It looks like the rapture is upon her. And I mean that in the sense of like, not that she's gonna get taken up. I mean like, or taken down, I don't know, wherever you go. But it looks like it's just happening on her. Like her personal experience is rapturing. The ground is splitting, it's cracking open, the yellow brick road is no longer that yellow or brick. I just think it's a weird dress. Balmain is doing a lot recently. I'm very happy with them doing a lot recently. Not everybody delivers all the time, you know? Now, to pick it up, Eva Green did show up then in this Iris van Herpen dress. This is from the fall 2022 collection. I love this. I think it's beautiful. I think it's interesting. I like the veins. I like the fact that in between each of these veins in black are actually sections and portions of lace. I don't know how they constructed the lace, but I assume it's some sort of futuristic technique. But I love the fact that it looks like the inside of your body in an anatomy diagram. I just think it's weird, it's wacky. I love the sheer elements. I think they work really well on her. I love the curvature of it. I think that she did a good job with the shoe moment too. It doesn't really distract me from what's going on. I think Iris van Herpen is a really hard thing to pull off unless you really sort of go for it. And I think considering that she's done like a pretty minimal hair makeup situation, like it's very simple, clean, and easy, I think that she's doing it well. I think she's pulling it off. I enjoy it. I miss Iris van Herpen collections. We gotta bring those back. Next up we have Eva Longoria, and she is wearing Eman a la Jalan and also Chopard. I actually quite like this dress. I know that it's a pretty simple form-fitted style. It's strapless. It has this metal applique all over it, but I like the applique because if we actually like zoom in, we can see there's some sort of weird coil metal wire situation going on, so it does feel a little bit different than just a rhinestone or an embroidery or something that we've kind of seen. There's something quirky about these little metal coil curls. It feels very Prada-esque to me, and I don't even mean that as like a, oh, we're knocking off Prada, but it feels that sort of avant-garde, unusual take on embellishments, which Miuccia Prada has always sort of done and always sort of championed. And I like seeing it here as well. And I like seeing it in this format, which is a really sort of form-fitted, beautiful, strapless style. It's a gown, it's lovely, it's easy, it's understandable, but there's just that little bit of weird twang to it that I rather enjoy. I also think that the Chopard necklace is really a good choice. I think it makes sense. I think it really works. I feel like looking at it from afar, you wouldn't know that the dress and the necklace were any different. You would think maybe that they are somewhat compatible together, you know, part of the same set, even though Chopard obviously doesn't make dresses, and Eman doesn't make jewelry, I don't believe. The one thing that I'm not completely sold on is the black velvet stole cape thing. It's not that I think it's not needed. I don't feel completely sold on it. I think there's a way to complement this dress and this necklace. I just don't know if the black velvet stole situation is the way to do it. Do I know what it is? No, because I'm not a stylist, but I know there's something just a little bit off about it. But the dress and the necklace together, love. She looks stunning. Next up, we have Greta Gerwig, and I want to say shout out to Greta because as one of the jury members, I believe that she's like the head juror of the Cannes Film Festival, which is, I think they rate things, they rate the film. I actually don't know how it works, but I know that Greta went to a lot of the premieres, most of the premieres, I assume all of the premieres, to be the juror and sort of help facilitate conversation about things. And so she wore a bunch of looks, a bunch. Now the first one I want to talk about is this Margiela look, which was very controversial. People were like, no, I don't like it. It's from the most recent artisanal collection, and I know people are gonna be like, well, why do you say artisanal? I say artisanal because that's what Jean Galliano says, and I think that saying artisanal as art is anal is funny. But going back to this Margiela look on Greta, I actually think it's kind of perfect. Now, again, it's from that most recent collection, and it's been stripped down from the high sort of styling, makeup, hair situation that it was on the runway. But I think that blue and white stripes at a film festival in the south of France during the summer, easy, understandable, I got it, it makes a lot of sense. I also think that a sort of day dress style like this, also easy, understandable, makes a lot of sense. And the thing that's really, really important is the fact that these stripes, if you look and we zoom in, we can see that the stripes from where they're heavily pleated on the side at that corseted area, when they move down, the lines line up perfectly, not only where the seam ends and that line of the stripe continues, but when we start to look at the gathering elements of the skirt, because if we move over to the center a little bit, you can see the gathering, those lines line up perfectly with the gathering. That's not a normal thing. Like, that is something that is highly detailed, takes a lot of time. Somebody probably went a little bit cross-eyed doing it. A perfect example of the work, the quality, the craftsmanship, and the attention to detail of haute couture, because it's very difficult to gather fabric so that it perfectly lines up with the stripes above it. Here's a picture of a reference image from, I believe, the 1930s or 1940s, and there's a dress where it's stripes, but they've completely just sort of changed the panel of the stripes. The panels don't line up. And that's from the 1940s when quality was obviously higher and, you know, a lot of the times better made. And so I kind of love the fact that Greta is wearing this dress. I think it's a beautiful dress. The other thing that people really didn't like is the pin tucking situation going on the bust area. I don't really mind it. The thing is, do I think that in a modern sense we look at that kind of cup style and say, oh, attractive? No, we don't. But I don't think that that means that it's unattractive either. I think it's rather interesting because A, depending on your cup size, it's going to give you a little bit of extra room to play with. So if you actually do have girls that are bigger, which is the case for a lot of people, it's actually kind of a benefit because you'll have a little bit more room to fill that out rather than feeling constricted, because a lot of the times people's bust sizes aren't actually taken into account when it comes to the construction of dress. Like, obviously they are, but you look at certain styles like Smashburger, it looks like it hurts. I think the silhouette is stunning on her. I like the fact that they stripped it down from everything going on from the runway and just made it really like a nice photo call day dress that she could wear out and about. Yeah, the only thing that they really kept of that sort of like Margiela-ism is the tabby heel. I love the Louboutin tabbies. I love them in the white here. I love the fact that you have the slit. It looks like a horse hoof. That's what people call those tabby shoes anyway, and so to play into the joke of that, I also think is rather miraculous, and I think it gives it that weird Margiela scariness that I still enjoy about Margiela, and I think is important to not only the brand, but also just the aesthetics of the brand. You can have a beautifully constructed piece and garment, which is very Margiela, but at the same time, you have that one thing that people are like, oh, disgusting. And that's also very Margiela. So I don't know. I'm a staunch defender of this Greta Gerwig look. I think it's really chic. I think it's really fun. I think it's really different for her. And she started working with Carla Welch. I'm into it. I'm sold on the Carla Welch Greta Gerwig collaboration era. So Hunter's dress is actually custom, and it's based on the fall 2010 collection, which was a collection that, funny enough, I know this is like obviously a very summery look. That collection was based on the 1950s and the 1960s, and the idea of also like the bust not being something that one should be ashamed of, instead rather sort of highlighting that. So what Miuccia Prada did during that show was actually to sort of put these frilled layers on the bust area, which obviously emphasized it and made the bust look bigger, which most fashion designers at that point really weren't trying to do that with models on the runway. So the fact that Miuccia did it was rather radical. And so Hunter has a take on that to a degree. Now this is actually a bodysuit, and it does have this sort of frilly, frothy ruffles right at the bust. I love this big sort of pipe, very 1960s in my opinion, sort of shape that goes and creates the straps and the underbust. It looks very sort of futuristic and angular, but not like a sharp angle, rather like those curved sort of retro feelings. They also have this little side wrap skirt, which obviously creates like a slit of some sort showing off sides of the leg, but it also has these two little sort of layers of gathering at the bottom, which I think is rather sweet and cute. Again, the headscarf I think is fun. I think it adds obviously to us now a little bit more of like a cleaning aesthetic. Also, obviously the full white might help with that. But if you look back at pictures from the 1960s, women going to the beach and things like that, you can see that headscarves like that would have been a thing and women did wear them. And the blue heels, I don't know, I think it adds just a little zhuzh, a little something different, not full white, but I think the color is complementary. I'm into the full look. I like it on Hunter. I think it's chic. I think it's different. I think it's a cool thing to take from a fall collection and make it a super duper exact opposite summer look, and also make it very much so your own and very cool, referential, historical, but still fresh and modern and funky and new. Next up we have Hunter Schafer, and here she is looking stunning in Armani Prive. I love an Armani, as I was saying, obviously Mr. Armani knows how to do elegance, poised, beautiful, regal, but also I think when you see these really stunning organza styles, that's why this looks so liquidy. It's why the fabric reflects the way that it does the light. It has a sort of, again, like futuristic quality and feeling to it. I think this is the fun Armani. I think this is like the fashion forward Armani. I think this is the Armani that I say, yes, I would love. I think when he does a beautiful organza like this, it just has an elegance, it has a crispness, it has a, at the same time, like it also has a languidity, a liquidity. It moves really, really well. Even if I don't always love the way that you have this very sort of flat bodice that meets the sort of gathering of the skirt, I like the fact that the gathering of the skirt sort of does this dip that, again, understands that the fabric is going to reflect a certain way and it's going to have an effect. And so you have to play to that as well. I think the color is really, really lovely on Hunter. I think it's crisp. I think it's clean. I think it feels like, I don't know, a spritz from the ocean. I like the necklace situation. Again, the sapphires, diamonds, it makes sense. It all works. I think she looks luscious and lovely. Next up we have Kirsten Dunst. She's wearing Gucci. Here's what I'm gonna say. The new era of Gucci under Sabato de Sarno is very simple. It's very cut and dry. There's not really a whole lot of surprise. In the context of that brand ethos now for Gucci, I do quite like the dress. I know that it's obviously just a black gown, but what I do think is really, really interesting actually is the cup area and the way that it goes from sheer. It looks almost like a slip dress underneath, and it might actually be a slip dress, and these sheer panels are just to accentuate that, but I like it. I also love the fact that the actual strap of the slip underneath does sort of create almost like panels in the sheer as well. I think it's rather interesting. I don't want to put Sabato de Sarno in the same camp as like a Maria Grazia Curie or a Virginie Viard, but I do think that we are seeing the brand move into this not being so forward-thinking, necessarily leading the customer down a certain fashion path, but rather sort of making good quality, nice clothing that will sell and will sort of entice a more laid back, not super fashion customer, which I think is what went on and still goes on with Chanel and also with Dior, compared to like a Dior and a Chanel where there is a real history, there is a real presence of certain aesthetics clothing-wise that have always been there, at least since the 30s and the 50s. Gucci isn't a brand that has that. Gucci historically is a luggage company, and so in the same way with the Louis Vuitton, it's a brand that you don't have to necessarily adhere to these certain stylistic codes because Gucci wasn't really a fashion designer at all. So you don't have to do that. So there is that different context of, well, yes, It's a bit boring, it's a bit bland, it's a little bit devil in the detail. Unlike a lot of the other brands that currently are doing that, they don't have a history to live up to. So I don't want to skewer Sabato because I don't think you have to hold his feet to the fire in the same way as other brands. Do I wish that there was a little bit more excitement, a little bit more pizzazz? Without a doubt. I think for everybody involved, it would actually make things a lot easier. There are interesting tidbits if you're looking close enough and if you want to spend the time to engage with it. But the thing is, I think now in the era of social media, we don't really do that. We just say black dress, move on, which I can also say that I am guilty of. But I think it's something that we should keep in mind. Next up, we have Léa Seydoux, and she is wearing Louis Vuitton. I don't really love a front slit. I don't ever find that they really are super chic unless it's maybe like a double front slit in a dress. This front slit, not great. It might also just be the angle of this photo that's not great. I don't necessarily mind the off-the-shoulder strap sort of bust situation. I think it's quite sweet. I also don't know if I love the way that the light is reflecting color off of the sequins on this dress either, and I just think the red and the blue and whatever reflecting off of the carpet, which I can't necessarily blame on anybody, but like it's still a thing, so we must blame someone. Not all the way thought through. It feels like a magnet for that color, and I don't think that that color necessarily is super chic and elegant and wonderful to want to have on your silver sequin, very simple dress. Not really dazzled by it, and on top of it, I think if you have a neckline like that that is so exposed, maybe a bigger piece of jewelry would have helped to make me not focus on the dress per se and make me focus on, oh my god, Léa Seydoux is so stunning and that necklace is amazing. I don't have to necessarily care about the dress. Next up, we have Lily Gladstone. She was also a juror for the Cannes Film Festival. Now, starting off, we're going to look at this photo call look. Again, the photo call is different than red carpet. It's the same way with Greta. It's a lot more calm. It's during the day. It's not really supposed to be like red carpet glamour, so I don't expect that. What Lily is doing is wearing a pretty simple white cotton button-down shirt dress. I don't hate it. The Gucci belt over top, don't love at all. I know that they're trying to sort of bring back the Gucci double G logo belt. I don't think this is the way to do it. I just don't think that this is helping me feel, oh, I want to be back on that. I think also we need a little bit of time from that buckle. It's just a little bit much. What I have personally recently been considering is buying a pair of Gucci loafers. I think there's something about Sabato's work that's made me say, I could use a black loafer. I think that's working, and that's also why I find the shoes that Lily is wearing rather interesting, is these sort of loafer heels. They're like a big loafer pump. I don't know what we're calling them. A lump or a plofer. Both are not great names, but I'm intrigued by them. These lovely lady lumps, like I think they're chic and elegant and cool. I like the color. I like the fact that you still have the horse bit on it. I like the fact that it's also a heel and not necessarily like a one-piece platform, because that's also what we saw during the first collection. Something that I also know is Sabato wants people to sort of have their own personal style, and for the Gucci pieces to be incorporated into that personal style rather than it be like full look Gucci. There's that element of like, I would like for people to purchase items that they're actually going to wear and use and live with and be happy with, which I actually have to say I really admire as a designer, because I don't think that's always necessarily the notion and the idea they put forth. They want full look to be incorporated rather than little pieces here and there that add to a personal style. I think taking the belt off of it, I would like this a lot more. I think that the belt, overkill. Now, next we saw Lily in this Balenciaga look. This is a custom Balenciaga look, but it's based on a 1959 look from the Balenciaga archive. Again, this is something that Balenciaga has been doing, I think, to get out of the scandal, is referencing a lot of old haute couture styles. I think it's a pretty smart mentality to go if you're still in the doghouse to a degree with certain demographics of your customer, or at least your target audience. What I'll say is I don't like the dress. The thing is, I love the idea of the dress. I think it's rather stunning and wonderful. What I don't like is the fact that they did not recreate the dress smartly. I don't think that the big panel that falls down the front is good compared to the panel that sits mostly around the bodice and then by the shin has fully tapered off. I also feel like there's a little bit of a bow area where on Lily's style there isn't, and I don't think they did a good job of recreating this dress, and that's why it doesn't work. I think the color could be really nice. I think maybe a deeper color would have been a little bit better. I think the length also, compared to the original style, also not super great. Don't think they did a good job of recreating this dress, and that's why this definitely does not work and is bad and scares me. It's like the first Lily Gladstone look in a while I've been like, ooh, don't love. I want to love. It's just had they remade it better, everybody would have been happier. Next up, we have Lily Gladstone, and she is wearing Gucci here. She is also wearing jewelry by Atumbi Metals, who is the jewelry artisan that I believe Lily collaborated with for her Met Gala look with Gabriella Hearst. So I love the fact that Lily is constantly upholding and uplifting Native American artisans. I think it's really cool. I think it's really chic. I think it's really wonderful. I love the earrings. I think they're rather sleek. I like the white with the gold at the edge. Like, nice. As for the dress, I think it's okay. I don't hate it per se. I think it's hard to do navy blue and black, most definitely. I do think that maybe the black V neckline is a little overkill, but I don't mind the navy blue sequins all the way through with the sheer overlay that has the black floral embroidery on it. I think it's just the neckline that's kind of throwing me off here. I wish that it had just been maybe all navy blue or just not that tennis sweater or cricket sweater neck, that deep V that is really sort of highlighted because it's in a different color. I like the floral embroidery. I think that's really sweet. I think that the blue sequins is rather lovely on her. Just the neckline I'm not jazzed about. Next up, we have Margaret Qualley. This is gonna be bad. She's wearing Chanel. This is gonna be a rough one for her. This is fugly as fugly can be. This, I believe, is from like the most recent Chanel show, which, listen, once they get you in their clutches, you're in for a rough ride. Because I don't think there's any escaping that contract. And like, once they say you gotta wear something, I think you gotta wear it. And it's prom season here in the United States. And what happens is there are these like prom design competitions where like young people make things out of garbage and scraps. And this looks like pink, blue garbage bags that have been sewn together. Just horrific. I hate the bodice. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so ugly. It's so gross. And then the skirt with like the feathers in it. It's just, I believe that she's wearing all Chanel jewelry, which I'm sure people love Chanel jewelry and think that's great and think that's wonderful. It's fine by me. I don't hate it. I like the symbolism of like the star and things like that. I just don't like the headband. It scares me. It's not my jurisdiction and I apologize for doing it, but no, it looks like her mom had to chop her hair off because she got gum stuck in it. And again, I don't know anything about having long hair. The most that I had was that mullet, and it's making me uncomfortable. This next look is a very Chanel 1930s South of France. The dress itself, I think, is like fine-ish. It's like a loose black gathered style. I don't really think it's great, but as far as Chanel goes, like, it's a black dress. Let's take it. There's nothing horrific print-wise, there's no crazy embroidery, there's no super odd silhouette and or layering of tights and pants and things, so this is as good as it's gonna get. Let's enjoy ourselves. It's a little black dress, Chanel reference, cool. The hat, again, like, it's just a little bit much. I just think it's a little much, and I have enough Chanel books, I've read enough Chanel books, I get it. I don't have to enjoy it, and I don't. I also just think, like, she's stunning. Why are you making cosplay in, like, 1930s pre-French occupation style? It's ugly. It's gross. I don't like it. I want better for her. It's so bad. She's like a tweed punching bag, and I keep punching it, and I don't want to have to, but you gotta pay your bills, I gotta pay mine. Sorry, queen. Next up, we have Maria Borges, and she is wearing Ali Khoury and Chopard. I like this dress. I like the hood trend. I still think it's cool. I think that in full silver like this, it's rather lovely. I don't know if I'm obsessed with like the hip cutout situation. I think almost maybe it would have been better as like not a hip cutout, because I think that that band, with the fact that the rest of the top is really not there, it's just the hood that's covering the bust area. I think the hip being covered would have tied it in a little bit, and it's really the issue of that band that wraps around the waist is just distracting to me. The Chopard jewelry, I think, is nice. I think it works. I think it makes sense in the liquid drapey movement situation, but it's obviously beautiful diamonds theme idea of like all the silver. I think it works. I think it's cool. It's just that one band around the waist I'm not content with. Next up we have Meryl Streep. She's wearing Michael Kors collection. Listen, I like Michael Kors. I don't know. I know people get mad at me about it. I do. I used to be a not Michael Kors girl, but now since Michael Kors has tamed the beast of the Michael Kors collection, I enjoy. To me, it feels very Cary Grant, like To Catch a Thief with Grace Kelly. It's just that Meryl Streep isn't Grace Kelly, she's Hugh Grant, which I'm into. I think it's fun. I think it's completely different from like what we'd expect, I feel like, from Meryl. I like the striped shirt. I like the suit. Not completely sold on the chrome shoe. Not, I'll be honest. But I love the hat. I like dapper Meryl. I think she looks good. Now, we also saw Meryl wearing this Christian Dior gown. I don't love it. As far as Maria Grazia's Dior goes, not the worst thing I've ever really seen. I do feel like it's obviously a reference to like draping and Grecian and things like that. I wish that we got a lot more Madame Grey, Nay kind of stuff and not that, but all right. I do think it's a bit bulky drape-wise in the center area and the fact that like the skirt has to drape up into the side. I do really like the neckline. I think that's rather sweet. I think it's rather fluid and languid and loose. And I don't like completely hate the skirt, but again, I don't love it by any means. I wouldn't even say I like it by any means, but I don't completely hate it. So that's, I think, a check. Excuse me. Next up we have Mike Faced, and he is wearing Loewe. Listen, simple, dapper, gent. It's pretty simple, Loewe. There's no, to me, like surreal element. There's no artistic, artsy-fartsy situation going on. It's just a black suit. It looks like it fits quite well. The bow tie's fine. I wish there was a little zhuzh from the Loewe world there, without a doubt. But like, okay, it's fine, I guess. I don't hate it. And with Cannes, it's a lot more like strict about gender roles, so I also, I guess, get it. Next up we have Naomi Campbell, who is actually wearing a vintage Chanel piece. But the thing is, instead of just wearing like any old vintage Chanel from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, no. Naomi is wearing this look from the Chanel Spring 1997 Haute Couture collection, which she originally wore, which I think is like on a different level of like vintage pulling. Now, Naomi for Cannes was being styled by Laurent, which explains a lot of that, the forethought into like finding a look that Naomi specifically wore on the runway and then putting that on her. But the other thing that I really, really loved about the look in its current iteration is the fact that there was no slip skirt underneath on this new styling. I like the fact that we actually can see Naomi's legs. I think it's cool. I think it's different. And compared to the original version, which did have a black slip underneath, I think the fact that bare legs play into it now sort of changes the whole look, the whole aesthetic. It feels a little bit more fun, feels a little bit more summery. The other thing is, I think the striping going on does sort of add in that like Frenchy, and I don't want to say Breton stripe as in like the Breton stripe is this, because this is not the Breton stripe, but that French sort of stripe thing. I feel like there's just something South of France, stripe, French, je ne sais quoi. The other thing is, I just kind of love the look. Like, I like the little pearl strands that not only hold the dress up, but that also fall off the shoulder. The black sequins, I think they work. I feel like also the length of the dress feels maybe a little bit different. And I do feel like it's almost been extended a little bit, because compared to the version on the runway, Naomi's does at the bottom have this extra panel of sheer. Kind of like the fact that it feels a little bit more mermaid skirt, which I assume then means that this is not from the Chanel archive. This is somebody had this look made for their own self and their own specifications, which is the case with haute couture. And clients oftentimes will change certain little things about looks to make themselves feel more comfortable. But it feels like this specific skirt has much more of a defined mermaid silhouette compared to the original runway style. I love it. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I think it's a great way to nod to your past and also pull that out. Very happy, very content here. And then we saw Naomi show up in a custom Dolce & Gabbana look, which we all know I'm not really a big Dolce fan. But I will say, I do like this jacket. It's made up of a bunch of different belt buckles in this sort of military green color. I like the fact that also it does cinch everything in, and yet at the same time the straps towards the top do sort of flail about as they're open, and you get this deep sort of plunge, and then it's paired with this very draped skirt. I think it works. I think it's nice. I think she looks good. As far as Dolce goes, I'll take this. Next up, we have Ramada Toulé. Now, she is wearing Chanel, and like, I like this. I don't really understand Virginie Viard's Chanel, but I think in this moment, I get it. I would say maybe this is more of like a photo call kind of look thing, but I also don't know if photo calls only if you're like an actor or whatever. I don't know. But I do think that this little tweed tank top in that light little pink with the pant that has a little bit of a wider leg, I think it works. I feel like it's young and fresh and easy and understandable. The styling is not super complicated. The styling doesn't make me want to have somebody literally rip each of my fingernails off in succession. And I think that that is an accomplishment. I also think the pink bag works. It's cute, it's chic, it pairs everything together. I just think she looks lovely and like she's gonna go enjoy the movie she's about to watch in this cute little Chanel look. I'm so happy, I love that. Next up we have Sabrina Elba, who is wearing Fendi Haute Couture. Honestly, I kind of like this. I think the ombre works. I like the white into the black. The one thing that's kind of complicated to me is the fact that from her, it'll be her right hip, there's this seam that runs down and then sort of changes where the ombre begins. So the white does really shape the body quite well. I think that one seam that sort of makes it super asymmetrical in terms of the actual skirt, maybe not what I would have chosen, but as far as Kim Jones Fendi stuff goes, this is good. I like this. I think it's nice. Normally I look at those dresses and I say, oh, okay, wow, he has a job. Okay. And here, I'm not saying that. I think that the neckline is interesting. Maybe the big long sleeve is not necessarily my aesthetic. But overall, I think this is nice. Next up we have Selena Gomez. I love this. She's wearing Saint Laurent. It's really simple, it's really clean, it's really easy, which I think are all things that are very Anthony Vaccarello Saint Laurent. But there's something about this look on Selena in particular that I just think works really well. It feels a little bit different. I feel like recently she's been a little bit more like trying to be fashion forward, which I've appreciated. I've enjoyed it a lot. But I think in terms of Cannes, this is very classic, beautiful, and wonderful. I also don't think it really reads as like super Saint Laurent by Anthony Vaccarello. And I don't mean that like as a bad thing. I don't even really mean that as like a good thing. I just mean it doesn't really feel like what he does, but I do really enjoy it here. I don't even know how Saint Laurent-y it is in essence, in and of itself. But the black velvet, I think, really fits well. It's beautiful. It really sucks in a lot of light. And then that white sort of semi-gathered silk at the top, I think really frames her beautifully. I think the necklace works. Like, I think everything really, really works. I thought she looked absolutely lovely. And I was really happy to see it. Next up we have Uma Thurman. She's wearing Erdem. Listen, I like a skirt suit. I like this crispy white skirt suit. I like this floral embellishment. I believe it's sequins. I can't be 100% certain. Maybe it's like part embroidery, part sequin. Maybe it's part print with sequins sewn on top. I don't know, but there's some sort of sheen and shine to those little flowers. I also love the fact that in keeping with, I believe it was the spring 2024 show, maybe it was fall 2023, I don't remember exactly. The bottom of that jacket is frayed. I believe the bottom of, oh no, not the bottom of the skirt. The top of the skirt sort of has a fray. It has this undone, unfinished experience. I know that it had something to do with Chatsworth House, and I can't remember the name of the aristocratic person who would have been in charge of Chatsworth House. Could be the Marchioness, it could be the Duchess, it could be the I don't know, but there was some woman that Erdem was inspired by, and there was a sort of unfinished feeling to that whole collection, and I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I think here Uma looks great. I feel like it makes sense for the photo call. It's more casual, it's more daytime. She looks lovely. I'm into it. Next up, we have Vicky Krieps, and I don't know Vicky, and I apologize to Vicky. This Bottega Veneta look, I know people are gonna be like, you have to hate that. And the thing is, I don't hate it entirely. Like, I don't like it here, because I think it's more of like an artistic endeavor. I feel like it's more of like a rough draft, an experimentation, a thesis, if you will, a hypothesis in fabric. Do I think that it's a finished product that should be worn by people? Maybe not. I think sometimes every collection I see a few looks for the most part in designers' work that I say, we're experimenting. I don't love it. I don't think it works. I appreciate you're trying something. I think this is one of those Bottega looks. I don't know if this Bottega look, though, should have left the runway. I think it should have stayed there as an experiment, as an idea, and we should have not lent it because it's very weird. It's very difficult to understand. I love the motif of the dots of blue, yellow, and red. I think that's really intriguing. It's just the jutting in of these crinkle, wrinkle, artistic pieces. I see it, I understand it. Mathieu Blasi loves an art, loves an interior design. I get it. It's ugly. And the thing is, maybe it wasn't meant to be seen as pretty, and that's fine. But it's ugly. It's not nice to look at. It hurts. It's scary. I get it. I understand why it is, I think, the way it is. I just want to let you all know that you can say it's ugly. Now, our last look is Yseult, who is wearing custom Christian Dior. I love. So Yseult is wearing this look that is very obviously based on the iconic Dior new look, the bar jacket, which Christian Dior debuted in 1947, revolutionized fashion. This idea of a full skirt like that, this Victorian-esque nipped-in waist, and almost a smoothing over of the bust was very radical. It was something that was very sort of frivolous, or seen as very frivolous, very overwhelming in terms of use of material. The amount of, I believe, meters of fabric at that point was so much more than, I think, at least the countries that had been in World War II were able to have for one person that was rationing fabrics. It was like such a idea of like luxury, extremity, ridiculousness, and that's why the new look is so revolutionary. It also sort of like fit in with like this whole idea of like the nuclear family and like this change of women being in charge of certain industries and things like that while men were fighting during World War II, and like there's a lot in it. The new look is very much so being replicated here by Yseult. I think it's super chic. I think it's super elegant. I love the jacket. I think it's stunning. I think it's beautiful. I love the pleated skirt. I think it's lovely. I like the fact that they even like use the same colors. That idea of like referencing the bar jacket, the iconic look. I love the hat. I feel like it's so late 40s. It's so chic. It's this like almost lampshade situation. She's not afraid to also like wear a hat that's big and that can take maybe a little bit of attention away from the face, but still the face is present. The face is beautiful. The face is stunning. It's gorgeous. It frames everything. The gloves, I mean the shoes, like it's great. It's really, really cool. I think it's really, really fun. Also, I feel like Yseult, as one of the biggest performers that are currently in France, I feel like it's a nice sort of nod to the history of fashion and culture with the Olympic Games coming up. I was really intrigued by it. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. And so that is the end of our Cannes Part 1 Fashion Rose review. Let's talk about best and worst. I'm going to put best. Oh, I really liked Greta Gerwig in Armani Prive. I really liked her in Rodarte. Hunter Schafer in Armani Prive as well. Who else? Oh, Naomi Campbell in the Chanel I thought was really, really lovely. Selena Gomez, I really enjoyed it. Yseult, loved that Dior moment. Thought that was fun. I think that's it. As for worst, I'm gonna put Vicky in there. I'm so sorry, Vicky. I apologize, but things must be done. Margaret Qualley in both of those looks, because Lily Gladstone in the Balenciaga, not good. Did not love. I'm gonna put Leah Seydoux in that Louis Vuitton because I just really was like, meh. Oh, and Eva Green in the Balmain. Oh, Bella, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. No, thank you. And Aubrey Plaza, no. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Stick around for Cannes Part 2. We're gonna be bringing it soon, I promise. I will see you guys in the next video, and TTYL.